All right, it is indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's another Friday, the Sheria Wiki edition of, when is it today? It's almost Christmas, 19th of May 2023, tarehe 19 mwezi ni watano mwaka 2023. Natumai kwamba kusalama, it's another Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And Nairobi weather as well is behaving, so you're going to have a very good weekend ahead. As usual, when you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is the tackle, the Sheria Wiki edition of the 19th of May 2023. And it begins right now. Tukona Mheshimiwa Ruku MP Mbeere. It's in Mbeere South of Mbeere. Mbeere North. Okay. Mheshimiwa Ruku Mbeere North. It's been a while, bwana. Hey. Lakini tu umengangana na hiki kitu sana. Good morning. Na kama kawaida kuna daktari Ekuru Aukot.
Unajua Bitok
Yes sir.
Mheshimiwa akaanza kukula allowance wanapotea. Sasa mimi nilikuwa namwambia leo baada ya hii show hiyo sitting allowance ya bipartisan talks
na Mbeere
ni Friday.
Na Mbeere ya kwenda Mbeere. Unajua kwanza ndio anaokota Mbeere. Unajua Mbeere ni wapi? Mbeere ni mbali. Mbeere yenyewe jamaa anaokota si kidogo.
No.
And by the way,
Mbeere is just here.
And by the way,
because from here to Embu is 170 kilometers. Then from Embu to the constituents defiant, few kilometers.
Around how many kilometers?
We have people who have serious marriage. People from Mandera, from Ramu, from Mombasa.
although they don't drive, we know they fly.
Of course.
So when do they charge the mileage? Especially with bandits on the way. So here ni conmanship.
Let me not.
Sasa unataka tena mheshimiwa afinya budget na alikuwa amejitolea.
Mheshimiwa I know drives to his constituency. But kuna wale wetu they don't drive but they still charge mileage.
Sasa ilikuwa barabara ya juu. Walipita juu ndio wakaenda.
But
wale wako na mileage ni wale wametoka Turkana kama my brother here.
But my mileage is based on you using the road, not the airways.
But so it means that the government has not known that people fly these days.
People fly. You know, it's people fly. Lakini pia mimi nataka kuuliza Mweshe, maybe today I educate the tacklers because I know there is a politics of Embu Mbeere. Sometimes when you call people from Embu, your Embus, especially the Mbeeres, there's like a resistance.
Yes. Embu is a tribe on its own. Mbeere is a tribe on its own with its own customs and traditions.
So there's a community called Mbeere.
Which are completely distinct from Embu.
Well, okay.
Yeah, me I'm a Mbeere. Yes. And we are completely distinct as a tribe.
So what's the difference between being an Embu and a Mbeere?
The customs and traditions are different.
So you have your own language also?
Yes.
Or do you speak the same language?
We have different dialects, although we understand each other. Yeah.
You have different diction. Diction is different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
But also customs and traditions are a bit different between Embu and Mbeere.
The Embus...
You know, when I went to Chokoza, my friend, Ken Mwige, who he probably knows, I call him Embu. I see the resistance saying, no, I'm not Embu, I'm a Mbeere.
Yes.
So, so can you also communicate with the Kikuyus? You can understand each other?
Yes, we understand. We can talk Kikuyu, we can talk Embu, we can talk Mbeere, we can talk Kamba, we can talk Kitharaka, and Kimeru.
There's a difference between Kitharaka. There's a Kitharaka and then Kimeru.
Yes.
There's a community called Tharaka again.
Yes, there's Tharaka. There's
Tharaka from Tharaka Nithi. But I thought you all speak the language called Meru.
Kimeru and Kitharaka is different.
Is it?
Kichuka and Kitharaka and Kimeru is different. But you understand each other.
Okay.
Yes. It's just the same as...
it's like Kalenjins. When you have Tugen, Kipsigis, Nandi.
I don't know how they carry it.
Marakwet.
They speak, but a good example is between Kikuyus and Kirenyagas.
Kikuyus and Kirenyagas. Now you're making it more complicated.
The Kirenyaga, the people from Kirenyaga, they speak a totally different...
People from Kirenyaga, not from Kikuyu?
Kikuyus, yes. Okay. But the language is a bit different. They understand each other.
Just like a dialect.
Yes.
Addiction issue, maybe.
No, it's just like you guys, Kalenjin. See, when a Kipsigis speaks Nandi and a Tugen.
But we call each other Kalenjin.
Yeah, Kalenjin is the cumulative. It's like Luyas. You talk about Luyas, you talk about the Tachoni, the Bukusu, the Maragoli. There is a dialectical
Different.
It's more or less like what you say. There is Kiswahili and there is Sheng.
So it's a product of the who is a product of the other. Ama kila mtu alikuja kivyake.
We are one people, all of us.
Okay.
The Merus, the Embus, the Mbeeres, the Kikuyus, all of them. We are one people.
Okay. All right. Let us know where you're tuning us from this morning. Of course, we'll be having a conversation around the recent happenings in the country. Inasemekana, but Kenyans are very resilient people. So apparently mulikunywanga mercury, bado muko. Corona ikakuja, bado muko. Ndio hii mmekuja expired sugar, bado muko. Tena maziwa kuna powder milk expired, bado muko. Anyway, so we don't have a conversation around KBS.
Mungu anatupenda.
Mungu anatupenda. Si ndio tunapenda.
Mungu anatupenda.
Talking about Mungu, kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe. Alafu tukirudi basi tunajua ni nani ameweza kuamka. Haya, mheshimiwa, si tuombe leo. Uliendanga Sunday school?
Yes.
Okay, so tuombe basi.
Let us pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. We thank you, Father, for this day. We thank you, Father, for the gift of life. We thank you, Father, for this country of ours, which we dearly love. We ask, Father, to embrace all the Rindas, to embrace all the Kenyans, so that we can be able to live in harmony and unity. Amen.
Amen. Asante sana. Thank you, mheshimiwa. Huyu najua Ekuru yapendangi maombi. Anasemanga tunaomba alafu tunaanza kutusiana saa hiyo immediately.
Sio kwa ubaya, lakini unajua is the state of our nation. Siku hizi unakuta wanasiasa, mheshimiwa kama Ruku, unajua siku hizi anaenda kanisa sana. Manake atapatiwa na chance hapa ya kuzungumza kanisani.
Ni kijana kanisa.
Achape siasa kidogo.
Hajaanza leo, ni kijana kanisa.
Mimi mtu ya kanisa kutoka kidogo. Even I wanted to be a priest.
But Mwesh, let me ask you. There is a very practical question for me. Relating to our church going and worship. You know, we worship in everything. Why is that not translating on the way we correlate as a country, as citizen of this country? Because tunasema sisi ni wacha Mungu, tunaenda kanisa, lakini some of our behaviors outside the church, it has actually made me question how honest are we when we say we're actually religious people or religious country.
That's true. There is a big question. I know quite a number of Christians ask themselves that question. But also the situation in which we are in at the moment, as far as mushrooming of so many churches with different names, huge names. And we are having quite a number of false prophets. And actually people who are already preaching the gospel of prosperity. I think it's high time we have a conversation as Kenyans on the kind of qualification someone needs to have
To start a church.
I think also we also need to amend the Societies Act, which give license to the churches. This conversation is very important for the Kenyans, but the unfortunate thing, I don't think there is any member of parliament who can fund a bill, who can sponsor a bill for amendment of the Society Act so as to regulate the church.
Why not?
It's a very hot potato.
Why? But the realities are there. For example, Mwesh, on this issue of the church, Bitok, excuse me, you know, look at the Shakahola situation, for example.
Yeah.
You know, it's as a result of supposed freedom of worship or freedom to start a church. But we've seen that because of that kind of indoctrination, many lives have been lost. So why shouldn't the state or you as the people's representatives be bold enough to say, no, let's relook at the Societies Act? Because the loss of lives is real. You see a theory?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You see why? It's because the infiltration of these churches in our society is so much, is huge. Every time you make along the road, there is a church owned by so and so, and it has followers. And you realize those followers are also your voters. What do you do with them?
So
It's a
meaning,
game of interest.
meaning then you the leadership of this country, Bitok,
It's a game of
is not
interest, not
truthful.
law.
It's a question of interest.
No, I think the person who should come out strongly and bring a bill in Parliament is the government. I don't know the minister who is in charge of that or the Attorney General to forward a bill.
Your side is that under the state law office.
Yeah, which now can go through the legislative processes, and then. But also, I don't think.
But
the
Moshe,
chairman,
why can't you sponsor it yourself? Because this is a situation. Be a national leader.
But he has said that those people are also his voters. He has already together himself.
Which means Mweshi is looking after his own personal interests, not the interests of the country.
What are the consequences? Good morning, Gerald. Good to see you. Asante Sarah Collins said good morning. Say hi to the team. Asante Skada Kindness tuned in. Good to see you this morning as well. Kelvin, good morning. Was it tuned in from Doha to Doha Mambo VP? All right. Let's look quickly at the newspapers. The newspaper headlines are Karaka Upesi. Alafu itikirudi tunakuja tuendelee na story. Tough times on small banks as loan costs soar. Bad sugar. Directives now want kept another top officials arrested. We saw what happened yesterday. Number of guys the other day. Number of guys have been fired. Top courts boss linked in gold scam. Interesting country. Judicial registrar on the spot. Judge freezes Ann Hamadi's bank accounts after Dubai company claims it lost more than 100 million in deal gone sour. Also in the dock is a son and 4 others accused of fraud. Hearing set for Tuesday. Studies on page 4 of the People Daily. Interesting times in this country. Our expressway has become game changer in Nairobi. Top construction industry player agree that the number of new buildings has gone up in the city. Let's do it or die. London side on for Shujas. Mambo ya rugby. Watu wa rugby hapo. Let's looking at the Star this morning. Ethnic imbalance in state jobs lands Ruto in trouble. Wow. Okay. Is it? Do or die. State blocks Uhuru Boma's meeting. Very interesting times to be alive. Well, only a few months out of presidency.
I honestly think Uhuru Kenyatta is embarrassing himself. He is not being a statesman. And in my view, it's just that because William Ruto and his administration are not courageous enough. Because the Retirement Benefits Act that takes care of former presidents, former prime ministers, chief justices, and I think deputy chief justice and other designated officers, it requires that you cannot actively participate in politics because that's the respect we give you. We recognize the fact that you've served us in your retirement. We want to take good care of you and respect you. So, in my view, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and if I was Ruto, I'll just be courageous enough and tell him, you know what, close that window of benefits. Because he is given a lot of privileges. He gets an allowance actually a salary every month. He has security, he has motor vehicles, we protect him because he's our former president. But the way he is meddling into the politics of the country, it baffles me. I don't know what Mwesh thinks, but I think. And I'm happy, Gigi Kagombe, the MP for Gatundu South.
MP.
Actually, Uhuru's MP has tabled a motion.
Yes, the Retirement Benefit Authority Act. The Retirement Benefit Act is very clear that the retired president should not participate in any active politics after 6 months of general elections. And we have seen President Uhuru is busy with political activities. And that's why we have a motion on the floor of the House, which is likely to be debated once the House resumes in June. And we will take a decision as a House. But at the same time, Uhuru has an international responsibility given by the President, William Ruto, to mediate or to take the peace process of Burundi within the Great Lakes region. And for this, it enjoys all the facilities of the state, including the Air Force, played to ferry in different countries around. And also, those talks or that responsibility does not is not doing it on pro bono basis. He's getting payment for that, other than his retirement benefit. So he should really be a statesman. We have seen what other presidents have done. Obama retired almost his age, and he has maintained that, very high decorum, and he's carrying himself as a statesman. And this is what Ekuru should be able to do. And even if you want to campaign for your preferred candidate, also do it with decorum. Don't do it in a manner that can, create a lot of conflict and discord, because you are a former head of state.
But you see, Bitok, speaking about Uhuru Kenyatta, and he's now come back to politics, even to the extent that he's being embarrassed. The other day he was tear-gassed, I don't know, trying to go into some... Dick. Now he goes to bombers, they are blocking him. Surely he must show that, he must see for himself that, there's expectation for him to behave in a certain way. But, two things that come to my mind. And this is why I think Kenyans are being played by these politicians.
Why do you say so?
Yeah, let me tell you this. The number one employee of William Samuel Ruto, as soon as aliweka Biblia chini,
ndio alikuwa ameshika Biblia sasa. Hapo ameweka chini.
Alikuwa ameweka Biblia chini.
Ndio alikuwa ameshikilia.
Was Uhuru Kenyatta. That was the number one, the first employee of William Samuel Ruto. Kwanza, he gave him an international job. Yeah? Paid in US dollars, and serious money. Alafu then we think that these people are enemies. And we think, this is just a game they are playing. They are managing their bases. Just the same way, bipartisan talk is actually being used just to manage the bases. But there is already an agreement that has been reached between Ruto and Raila that, lazima unajua nijioshe mbele ya wafuasi wangu. So I cannot do certain things. So, yeah. And then secondly, imagine you give someone like Uhuru Kenyatta the responsibility to fix peace in the region. But us and Pokots, us Turkanas and Pokots, been fighting and killing each other. And we do not even see a government initiative to bring Turkana, the Pokot, and the Turkana, and the Samburu, and to some extent even the Tugen in Baringo. Just some peace process even in our own country. I find this very paradoxical, and I don't know when Kenyans will open up their eyes and see the politics of this country is just a game of musical chairs, played by politicians.
Game of Thrones.
I think the difference between the President Ruto and Uhuru is not cosmetic. It is real.
Is it?
It is deep. And Uhuru meant his support to Raila. It was serious. He really wanted Raila to be the president of the Republic of Kenya.
Why, Mush?
Okay.
Why?
Because somehow they had their own differences, which I would not want to go into, between between Uhuru and William.
Mush, as African people, even in our own cultures, if I do a good deed for you, there is expectation that there is some level of reciprocation. The truth for the matter is, in my view, I do not think Uhuru Kenyatta wanted Raila to be president. And I also do not think Raila himself wanted to be president of the Republic of Kenya. You see?
They scream that Raila always want to maintain relevance because he has been this political space, Kenyan's political space from 1980s to date. And if he became the president for 10 years, he'll be forgotten by now. But I don't buy these conspiracy theories. The difference...
It's not a conspiracy.
The difference between Uhuru and William Ruto, our president, is real.
I'll be very honest with you,
they really got shocked. That's why Uhuru and his team stayed quiet for 5 months because they could not believe it.
They could not believe.
They could not.
With the benefit of intelligence.
Bitok, I'll tell him Mheshimiwa this. I know he's being politically calculating in this, but now that he's at the tackle, as we like to tackle. Mwesh, Uhuru Kenyatta indirectly campaigned for Ruto.
Hakuna kitu kama hiyo.
Ekuru alisema mapema Raila anachezwa.
Yeah, 2020. Remember January 2020?
Yes,
Raila anachezwa.
Ekuru said that.
Nabii.
But it's only that Raila, the Azimio guys, disorganized their campaign. And also that William Ruto are very organized. And he has been a very organized guy for long. And he knows how to run his things in a very systematic manner. That is why he defeated the Azimio guys.
Okay, all right.
Not because that there was some what do you call it? Underground.
Under the table cards.
No.
All right. Anyway, what is the state of the nation?
The thing about the verdict or the peace process in Pokot, Baringo, and all this, we have a very competent guy who is now the Minister of Interior, Professor Kidiki. And for once, that problem is going to be solved.
Okay. We'll be waiting to see.
Also, I'm looking forward to it, and we would really like to see government fix that problem because it's really affecting livelihoods. Like as pastoralists, pastoralism is a livelihood on its own. So when it is disrupted through conflict and violence, people degenerate into some state of despair. So we really pray that the minister fixes this problem.
Okay, all right. Talking about Biblia and when the president is called swearing in right? At Kasarani told us that Biblia ikishuka hivi, bei ya unga itashuka, bei ya mafuta itashuka, kila kitu itashuka. Is that the reality? What is the state of the nation?
Yeah.
Is the president living up to its promise?
There's a serious progress from August last year to now. As far as the price of unga is concerned. Remember in August there was subsidy. That the government was paying 8 billion, almost, I think 8 billion every month to subsidize unga, paying money to Mbeere. And still, the prices of unga was 250 Kenya shilling in supermarkets. At the moment, we are talking about 178, 180, to around 156, 155, depending on the brand of the unga which you want to buy. So there's a drastic decrease in terms of the prices. And remember, there's no subsidy, which the Mbeere are getting from government. So there's serious effort to stabilize the prices. So looking at where we were and where we are at the moment, we can't say that the president has failed completely to bring down the prices, or say he was not truthful to his words when he said the prices of unga will come down. And also, let's look at the percentage of Kenyans who buy unga in our supermarkets. It's not more than 90%.
Okay.
Yes.
Where did the other ones buy from?
Bitok. Mheshimiwa Ruku here is a very good friend of mine, and I consider him a brother.
Na hajafika kwa mafuta, amemalizia mafuta ni 182.
Tutakuja hapo tu.
182.3.
We'll come there. I want to acknowledge the fact that Ruku is a brother to me, and he's a very good friend. But Mwesh, if you want this government to succeed, let's not be apologists of the obvious. Yeah. My interest is to have a successful government, whether I supported it or did not support it, whatever. I want to live in a country where a government successfully is fixing our problems. But I think one of the biggest challenges we have, even as leaders in this country, is to keep on being apologetic and to try to keep on defending ourselves. It may be very useful for William Ruto administration to acknowledge the state of the nation as it is, and not to lie to Kenyans that, things have improved. Things have not improved, Mwesh, and you know it. Today, I'm sure ukiangalia M-Pesa yako, your WhatsApp number and your phone, your constituents are calling you constantly, asking you, nitumie hii, mtoto ajenda shule, school fees, medical, nini. That, in my view, from a micro level, describes the state of our nation, that people are really struggling. You know, I get messages when people ask me, please into bonga points, so that I can convert that bonga points into food. People ask for 150. Sometimes I really worry. Sasa nikitumia mtu 150 Kenya shillings, ni chakula ina gani anaweza kununua with this 150? So I think, and going back to William Ruto's administration, it's important to acknowledge that, and honestly, this is my honest advice. I have nothing against William Ruto, nothing personal, but I think if him and his deputy president and the people associated with him are not able to stop lying, at least reduce the lies. Because there seems to be inability to stop lying.
So let's get.
You're not even telling them to stop lying.
Yeah, because you see, let me explain myself. Because I keep on saying, and I've said it in very many fora, William Samoei Ruto, Doctor, our president, he's not a newcomer in government. He's been there from 1992. He's been minister. He's been this and that. He's been in opposition. He's worked with all these political leaders, Akina Raila, Uhuru at some point, and everybody else. So this is a person, in my honest opinion, who knows the mechanisms of governing a country. He knows where the problem in the country.
No, but lakini alikuwa manamba
Goja. Yeah.
Yes.
And for the last 10 years, he deputized President Uhuru Kenyatta. So one of the things that I think you people really need to stop talking about is blaming Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta is gone. It's not a factor in the presidency anymore. But when you keep on saying that, problem Uhuru did not do this thing alone. And in any case, if William Ruto is this man of integrity and respect that people now want to, why did he keep on benefiting from a regime that was putting us into the hole, digging a big hole for us every day? So, tuache uongo bwana. At least, kama hatuwezi acha, tupunguze tu.
And these are the facts. 75% of Kenyans who are salaried, who get a salary every month, they earn less than 50%. 50,000 Kenyan shillings. 75% of the entire population which get a salary every month, they earn less than 50,000 Kenyan shilling a month. Those are the numbers. 97% of all Kenyans who have a salary at the end of every month, they earn less than 150,000 a month.
Okay.
Gross, not net. Okay. Now, for you to be earning, no, you're not talking about now the informal sector. People who don't have a salary, they depend on the businesses they do, and some are micro businesses. Sometimes they may not be able to earn anything for a day. So, and this has been the situation. This is not the situation that has come with President William Ruto. These numbers are not numbers with the presidency of William Ruto. These are numbers which have been there in the past. And with such kind of numbers, the president must ask himself very hard questions. What are we supposed to do to get this country out of such kind of a situation, such kind of numbers? And those now are the interventions which the president is trying to make. One, for us to lower the price of unga, we don't need to subsidize consumption. We need to subsidize production.
Okay.
And where there is production, it means there will be people who are going to get jobs in the process of production, because production is a process. Okay? But consumption, when you ukaa kwa mesa and you start eating unga, you don't know even where it has come from. So, President is extremely right in trying to solve the problem my brother here is talking about of kutumiwa a message of Tuma send me this and that. We have to solve this problem in a granular manner. Okay. One way is how do we lower the cost of unga? We can only lower the cost of unga if we subsidize the production of our agricultural sector. Okay? Yeah.
All right.
But you see, saying that, we are not trying.
Okay.
But saying that, basically, when we say that the unga was 250 in August and today is not 250, we are not trying. That's the truth.
Okay. All right.
But we talk, eh?
Let me finish up on that.
Yeah, I don't know whether Mwesh has actually read the Finance Bill 2023.
I think he has read it.
No, I doubt. Because
he's a member of parliament.
If Mwesh has read that bill, because then that bill, for example, and I'm happy you're talking about, say, manufacturing. If you look at that bill, and I will share by end of business today, our memorandum as the party, Third Way Alliance.
That's what we're actually waiting for.
Yes, I will send it to you because the deadline is it tomorrow, for sending to Parliament. So we are sending ours by maybe the next 2-3 hours to Bunge, and I will share it with you as well and Kenyans. If you look at the way the Finance Bill 2023 is being proposed, first of all, it's undermining manufacturing, meaning it's actually undermining job opportunities. The impact, it creates a negative impact on foreign exchange. You know, for example, this is a bill, in my view, that is so irrational, very emotional, just created by proposed by a government that thinks that they can tax people. For example, Bitok, in one of the proposals, we'll discuss the details and I'll give you the details when we do the memorandum. It says that if I am an agent of a landlord, that upon receipt of rent, within 24 hours, I must send that money to KRA. Within 24 hours. That's what the bill says.
I want to disabuse a point. If there's a bill which is encouraging manufacturing in this country, is the Finance Bill 2023. Why? There are tax exemptions of about 15 tax exemptions. One, complete tax exception as far as pharmaceutical products, manufacturing of pharmaceutical product is concerned in this country. Okay. The raw materials to manufacture pharmaceuticals product in Kenya are completely 100% tax and exempt. Okay. For manufacturing of vaccines, veterinary medicines for our livestock, completely 100% tax.
No, it's zero rated.
Yes.
And you see, when you zero rate, you're actually transferring the cost of purchase to the consumer. You're actually excusing the manufacturer, but saying that so that government, they are not able to pay tax back. But you are saying you are transferring that cost to actually the consumer. Mwesh, I will share with you our memorandum. And let me tell you, I've sat down with financial experts, accountants, and we have analyzed that bill. And Bitok, it's up to you. You can even share it online with the tacklers.
But maybe in the interest of the tacklers who are joining in this morning, I'm sure, of course, many of them have been waiting to get a breakdown on the Finance Bill 2023-2024. Although the country has moved on, now they're talking about sugar. Of course, they moved on from the financial bill. But I'm sure there are people who are sitting somewhere, and especially tacklers want information on that. Maybe you can just give us a small breakdown from your own memorandum, even as you're waiting for it. Then we can have the benefit of response from Mheshimiwa.
Let me say this in summary.
Yes.
Any tax regime, and I'm not an expert on matters tax or accounts, any tax regime in the world must focus on two main issues: efficiency and equity. The 2023 bill, Finance Bill 2023, fails on both fronts. A fair tax regime must ensure there is efficiency, meaning compliance on you paying taxes. This bill makes it completely difficult to achieve that. In terms of equity, it actually fails because it's not fair. As a matter of fact, it seems to favor the rich and people already in positions of influence, not the poor. And Bitok, I promised tacklers, I'll be back here and we'll break down that bill bit by bit. But in a nutshell, I would say it's a completely unfair. It undermines manufacturing. It undermines, foreign exchange. Actually, it's placing a bigger burden. For example, in one of the sections, I think it's this section 78, it says that if I am, and we have looked at various acts, the impact of this bill to various, statutes, existing statutes. For example, it says that if I have a dispute with, say, KRA, I must deposit 20% of the money being disputed with KRA first. But it does not give a corresponding responsibility or duty on KRA to refund me. It's actually punitive on the common man, on the consumer. So in a nutshell, I would say the bill, to be honest with you, needs to be revised. But I'm happy it's a bill, and I'm sure when they debate it, probably they'll consider some of the amendments that we are proposing in the bill. But as it is now, I find it is a very emotionally proposed bill by a desperate government that wants to raise taxes. And Mwesh, let's be very honest. You cannot increase taxes. First of all, this bill is bringing more taxes. It's a tax burden actually on Kenyan Mwananchi. At the time when all of you guys agree that the state of the economy is not good, then why are you overtaxing Kenyans? For example, the 3% housing levy, surely. On a people who are not, and you yourself, you have said it, if I'm earning, say, 50,000 on average, what is 3% of that? And who told you that I'm not happy with my Mabati house or my Kibanda house?
You're living happily, and the government wants to give you a concrete.
Numbers are good. The Kenya tax revenue to GDP, we are at 14%. And the average tax revenue to GDP in all the nations in the world is about 23%.
Okay.
That means the countries, the African nations, Kenya economy is one of top 5 economies in Africa. We have Kenya, we have South Africa, we have Egypt, we have Morocco, Nigeria, If you look at the tax revenue to GDP of these countries we are talking about, they are all above 23%.
So you're saying they are undertaxed?
There are countries where most of the developed nations are above 30%. Now, what the Finance Bill 2023 is proposing to raise the tax revenue to GDP by only 2%, so that we can be at 16%. At the moment, the revenue we get from tax is about 2.2 trillion Kenya shilling. If we raise it by only 2%, we'll be able to get 2.8 trillion Kenya shilling. Now, what you pay for is exactly what you get.
Okay.
If you want to, how many, we are talking about slums in this country. They keep on mushrooming each and every day. This constitution, which was crafted by my brother here and his team, there is an article which talks about right to proper housing.
Okay.
Article 43 of the Constitution. Okay? But every right has a cost.
Okay.
Every right we talk has a cost. We can give ourselves all the manner of right we want. But we have also to be ready to finance all those rights. We must be able to finance all those rights as a nation. So when we are talking about raising tax revenue to GDP by only 2%, I've just given you some numbers that only 97% of Kenyans get less than 150,000 per month. We are talking about 35% for pay as you earn. How many pay as you earn for those who earn more than 500,000 a month? How many Kenyans get a gross of 500,000 a month? Actually, it is us who members of parliament who don't want to be taxed at 35%.
Okay.
Because we earn more than 500,000 gross per month.
So you are ready to be taxed at 35%?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, I'm ready to pay that 5%. So when we hear the members of parliament making a lot of noise as far as this tax bill is concerned, one, they are protecting themselves. And that's, they don't want to tell people that they are protecting themselves. Because there is no Kenyan who is earning less than 500,000 who will be subjected to that 5% tax. About the housing, 3%, it is not tax. It is your money. It's your money which you'll be able to recoup back after 7 years. Okay. What you are saying is a time has come for this nation to move from the tax revenue to GDP of 14% to 16%, so that we can be able to achieve a few things as a nation. There is a serious problem of. There's a serious problem.
Not tax, what is it?
It's savings.
It's savings. Okay.
It's savings.
So why are you being forced to save?
Why?
Again, Bitok. Also, you need to look at the saving ratio to GDP. There are different measures of financial measures which makes a nation financially deep. Today, my brother here will tell you, for you to give a rate of credit to purchase product from different countries, your letter of credit from Equity, from whichever bank here, cannot be accepted out and there unless it is confirmed by another bank. Why? When shall we be able to give letters of credit without other banks out and there confirming our letters of credit? It will only happen when our economy will be strong, our financial capacity as a nation will be deep. What are you talking about financial deepening? We are supposed to develop a market we call financial derivatives. Our economy, the saving ratio, compared to South Africa, compared to Tanzania, our neighbor here, compared to Uganda, our neighbor here, compared to Rwanda, we are 13.37%. Okay? And the average is about 23.47% in other nations. So, how come that Kenya is one of the biggest economy in the region, but Tanzania has a higher saving ratio to GDP than our country?
The same
we have a president who is very aware, very much aware about some of these parameters which stabilizes the economy, and he wants to sort all those once and for all. So that this
question for you. The more I listen to Mwesh, the more I confirm one thing. There are no economists in this KK administration. There are no sound economic advisors. Mwesh ameongea theory, but I'm talking about practicals. Mwesh here is a theorist. And he is eloquent in expounding his theories. But let me tell you, there is somebody who has sent me a message, Mwesh, and which I've even shared on my Twitter handle. And this is what the person says. I don't know who this person is, but I thought the message speaks the truth. And he says, a government that has not managed to build enough classrooms in public schools since 1963 is imagining that it can build affordable houses for all of us. What are they smoking at Arambe House?
Maybe Ruku can tell us. Me, I've never gone there. Ruku can tell us. But two questions for Mheshimiwa, even as I get back to Daktari. Now, the issues you mentioned. There are two things you've said, and they say you cannot compare where you cannot compete. You've compared Kenya to countries around the neighborhoods. You've talked about Uganda, you've talked about Tanzania, you've talked about South Africa. Now, the reality is, even as you're doing those comparisons, is it possible to also tell us how easy is it to live there? What is the cost of living in these countries that you're talking about? Because you're talking about, as it is right now, every Kenyan feels the pain The pain of being
regardless of
because of where you are, you feel
whether
the pain.
you are earning a salary or not.
Yes, and another thing, Mheshimiwa, is these are countries that have other resources. You know, Tanzania is almost the biggest exporter of gold in Africa. I mean, there are other natural resources that can get money from. In Kenya, the only resource that we have is the people. We don't have anything else. We don't have hiyo mafuta hata mulipeleka tu mjarudisha na uhuru. At least hata tungesema tuko na mafuta. There's nothing that we sell, that we export. Our agricultural industry, which was the backbone and the biggest exporter, exchange product, is gone. It's dead. Now what we have left about are the people. You know, actually in this country, without the population that we have, this country would have collapsed long time ago. So how is it that you want to put all these problems on the same one resource that you have, that you're talking about, and you want us to believe that you can overtax these people who are not producing? Most Kenyans, you mentioned very well. You've said very well. I like the way you've given us data that over 97% of Kenyans earn under 150,000 Kenyan shillings. So how is it realistic that with that number, with those figures, you still want to milk these people that have nothing?
Imagine.
And you can imagine you can fund the economy out of nothing.
You see,
Have you guys started doing witchcraft?
What we are, the point, people who don't want to say the truth, the 3% who's at the bone of contention, it is not tax. This is your money. This is money you get back with, you pay 3%, your employer pays 3%, and also it generates interest. So within 7 years, you'll be able to get more than double of what you have saved within 7 years. Let me say this. There's a point you have just said. There's a point you have just said, which I want to also put in perspective as far as Finance Bill 23 is concerned. It is true Tanzania has a lot of gold and a lot of gemstones, and it earns a lot of money from this kind of minerals. We have tea as a serious foreign exchange.
Actually, the only one, actually.
Okay? And also coffee. What has the finance bill proposed? It has proposed complete VAT exemption to export of our tea. What does that mean? It means the farmers, the companies which are exporting tea, will be able to earn more than what they used to earn in the previous years. That has a serious multiplier effect within the economy.
Okay.
So we know where we get our money from, and we are taking care of areas where we can be able to get our money from, so that people can continue earning more income. And once there are more disposable income, then it means there are a number of the growth which can happen either to an individual or to a company. And when there is a growth, there is, of course, employment. So we cannot condemn everything, saying that everything is bad. So I do think that the president is right in thinking that we need to remove VAT to the export of tea. He's thinking in the right direction.
Bitok, Mwesh, for me as a lawyer, I feel insulted that the president and his people wants to lie to me that you are passing a law that say will deduct 3% of my money, and then you don't want to call it a tax. It's a tax. If it's an investment, Mwesh, why are you forcing me? Yeah. Let it be voluntary. Exactly. Let it be voluntary. But the moment
why we are forcing you is because of Article 40. You have said 43. 43 of the Constitution. You are right. Any responsible government must be able to. So we must be disciplined as a nation. Fair enough. We must be disciplined as a nation.
Fair enough. The right to housing, is not the only right in the Constitution. Now let's talk about priorities in this country we call Kenya. Right now, the number one priority for Kenyans is unga. If you are really honest about this 3%, you cannot tell us we must build houses. And whose houses are we building? For who? It is for the middle class. That's what they said. So that's what in the public domain there. Mwesh, if you really wanted to help Kenyans, in my view, focus on food. Fuel levy. medical,
What we are
and
saying,
all those things. For me, you are getting your priorities wrong, because even in that taxation alone, Mwesha, you've said that you are reducing, I think, some charges on importation of helicopters.
We need more money there.
Yes, that's really not a priority, Mwesh. What I'm telling you is this. And you know one thing.
today helicopters are not serviced.
I started by saying.
Today helicopters and aircraft are not serviced at reason. That market has gone to other countries.
Why is that even a priority?
So we need to bring it back so that we can be able to earn.
Mwesh.
There are quite a number of companies. We have schools of frying in this country.
Mwesh. We love this country in equal measure, just like you. I think the best thing you people could do, stop resisting wise counsel. We are giving you wise counsel because we want you to succeed as an administration. Hii mambo ya mwache siasa. The problem that you are still stuck in 2022 and politics. You think every time we criticize you, we want to undermine you. We know we will not. You have your 5 years. Yeah. And by the way, Mwesh, and take this for free, and I've said it in this show and many other fora. If you guys are not careful and not being magnanimous enough to take counsel, you will be a one-term administration. You'll only serve 5 years and you'll be gone. Because, and like I said, and I'll repeat, if you cannot abandon lies, at least reduce them.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mwesh, let's prioritize. What is the priority of Kenyans right now? I find that the finance bill actually has not put priority on the thing that really pains Kenyans today. And that is the cost of living. And I think that's, if you are to focus on that, you look at fuel levy, for example. Yesterday I was in a show with the chairman of ODM, Mbeere. And Mbeere was trying to say that, the 8% on fuel levy today was negotiated because the Jubilee administration wanted 16%. Now you are taking us back to 16%. At the time when people are also, can you imagine the impact of, say, how many people will not drive? How many people will not be able to buy fuel because you're increasing the cost of living? Okay? That already undermines the economy. It undermines, the demand, actually. So I feel that this administration really needs to get its priorities right. Yesterday we went with Matangi, and we were using the analogy that, of course Matangi was trying to justify that, just like many of UDA people, that, we are just on the takeoff stage. This is just a plane that is taking off.
Which is true.
Fair enough. You have taken off. For me, I argue differently. This plane already took off. You are already in the airways there. But if you promise me you're taking me to Lodwar, but I see you taking me to Mombasa, I must protest. I must say what's happening.
Maybe they want you to enjoy the journey more.
Bitok.
I think you're getting to Lodwar, you've seen more things.
There's something which we need to put into perspective. The issue of housing.
Okay.
At the moment,
is it really a priority, Mwesh?
Just a minute. The cost of rand in Nairobi is the highest in Africa.
Okay.
There is no any other city in Africa where the cost of rand is at the moment. So that means the market is completely distorted.
Okay.
A responsible government must be, must take care of the interests of its citizens. Out of a mortgage, because you're talking about building the houses, low-cost houses through mortgage. The cheapest mortgage at the market at the moment you can be able to get is at a rate of about 14%.
Okay. 14.5.
And a modest house, like the ones now proposed by the Kenya Kwanza administration, you can get it at 10 million in the market rate at the moment, as it is at the moment in our city. Now we ask ourselves, out of the numbers I gave you, how many can be able to afford? It means the 97% of the working people in our country cannot be able to afford a mortgage of 10 million, which the market is providing. Do you want, we condemn all these people that they will never be house owners? And by the way, out of all the people who live in Nairobi, only 2% who own, 98% rent.
Okay.
So these are some of the things which need to be corrected. And that is exactly what the government is trying to do.
Okay.
And for 10 million at the rate of 14%, you can only pay 153,000 per month for 10 years.
Okay.
If you are lucky to get a mortgage for 10 years.
Okay, all right.
So that means that means 97% of Kenyans cannot be able to afford a mortgage of 10 million.
All right, okay.
For 10 years.
All right,
so
let's,
we have to collect that.
Okay.
And that is exactly what the government is trying to correct, so that we can reduce the number of slums which are coming up each and every day in different parts of these cities.
So let's put that into perspective. You said 90%. Before we have Ojuang wants to give a comment, so we'll get back. I say tried calling, so we'll get back to him in a couple of minutes. But just to bring that, because I think it's a raving debate in the country as we speak. The issues of housing, as you are saying, yes, you accept that Kenyans need housing. But the same way you've given a comparison of the mortgage, let's bring this into perspective. You've said 97% of Kenyans earn less than 150,000.
Yes.
Assuming then that the highest earner is 150,000. What is 3% of 150,000?
It's about slightly more than 3,000.
Let's even give it a maximum of 4,000.
Yes.
For argument's sake. Okay. 4,000. The cheapest house on this housing program is 2.5 million, which is a one bedroom at 2.5 million. Now,
and I have a family of 5.
Let's even assume you even have that family of 1. All right, so most of the
Don't you think it's even laughable?
By the time you're earning 150,000 in Kenya, you're
it's actually
4,500. Let's say 5,000 now. Let's even make it 5,000. So by the time you're earning 150,000 in this country, you are over 30 years.
Of course.
Yeah. So there's nobody who is under. And this, we're assuming is the highest earner. So you are probably 32 years, and you're going to retire at 52. So you have how many years left? 20. 20 years left. Now let's say you're going to be a very faithful citizen, and you're paying 5,000 for 20 years. How much is that?
Bitok,
And the reality of credit in Kenya is that most of Kenyans have not even mortgage in itself. Most Kenyans never finish their mortgages.
Yeah.
At some point they're auctioned or they lose properties and all that. So the biggest question for these people that's
exactly what we want to correct. That's what the government wants to correct.
But now the same person that you want to say, unless you're going to give these houses for free. But if you're saying that someone has to take a cheaper mortgage, you're giving an option of a cheaper mortgage. You're not saying that you're not going to complete paying. It's probably you're going to pay it. And if you calculate it, you need almost 60 to 100 years to finish your mortgage on that plan for the highest earner.
Actually, if today the mortgage of 2 million, 2.5 million, the cheapest is how much?
2.5 million.
2.5 million. That one bedroom unit in Gara, which you're paying a monthly repayment mortgage of the 5,000 every month, you can be able actually to rent it at 15,000 every single month. Okay. Meaning, you pay 5,000 as mortgage, and on top you get an income of 10,000. That is what the market is offering.
Right. So for this highest earner,
the lowest earning Kenyans can be able to pay every month 5,000 for mortgage for a period
of 10 or so. At what point do they start? Because the highest earner who is earning 150,000, the highest earner, the one who is earning 150,000, by the end of 20 years, he would have managed to save only 1.2 million. So that's when he'll be retiring at 52. From 32, he'll have managed to save 1.2 million. He's short of 1.7 million.
After
20 years.
20 years?
The highest earner.
For 3%.
Yes, 3%. You would have only managed to save
3% as another 3% from the employer. Okay. Remember that also 3% is not stagnant without earning interest. It's also earning interest. Remember I talked about building a financial deepening, or where we can have a pool the actual sciences will tell us that it is possible to have a pool of money, and then out of that we can create other instruments, financial instruments, which will bring more interest.
So there are other ways to earn the mortgage. Yes. So at what point do I get the house? If I'm putting this 3%, at what point are you guys going to give me my house?
Once you finish the repayment, if the repayment is 10 years, then after 10 years you have your house. What we are saying is, instead of paying, what we are saying is, instead of paying a mortgage of 153,000 every month, which many Kenyans will not be able to afford, let's have a structure. Let's have a strategy on how Kenyans can be able to pay a mortgage of 5,000, a mortgage of 10,000 per month, and after 10, 15 years, you have your own house. And more so, you are living in a decent place where even your children can be able to have a playing ground. At the moment, the conditions which...
A playground in a one-bedroom house?
No. The way the
common areas.
The way the apartment are being constructed, there's an apartment, and within that compound there's a playground for the children.
So you're assuming everybody wants to live in apartments.
Let's listen to Joang for a minute. Please have your headphones on. I think these stories are in my view, but we still need more.
Honestly, you need to abandon that project. It's not...
Joang, good morning, sir.
Morning, tacklers and the handlers.
Good to hear from you. Mambo.
Because our very great topic, very important debate. This kind of things can only happen in tackle.
Have you started saving for your house?
Wakili and the Mheshimiwa are tackling you to the ground, sir. This is like American football. This is like American football.
Talk to me.
Yeah. So now I've been following the debate as I usually do.
Thank you so much.
Sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly.
What is important is you follow.
I just have two comments.
Okay.
There is a concept of how stereotype works. Stereotype, you pick one negative aspect, then you blow it to the extreme, then you generalize that this is what this is all about. So you find a weak point, you push it to its maximum generalized point, to say, let's say this tax on this is high, then you maximize and say these people want to kill us, and then you generalize and say these are killers. I'm seeing a little bit of that because I hear what Dr. is saying, but Dr. living in Nairobi can say that housing is not a priority. Knowing very well several court judgments which is saying surely 20 years or 10, 15 years after the new constitution, these social and rights are not just here for aesthetic purposes. They should be implemented. So now, look at Nairobi. You can barely find land. These are the people who are always getting into scheme of, come see Kenya, plot, Maguta, and you cannot even follow the chain of title. And here is an opportunity now to own, and in hindsight, you'll expect it's only the landlord and the developers who will be complaining because the government is actually taking very prime business from their hands. Look at housing and shelter. I mean, the right to shelter, we know that basic things are food, shelter, and clothes. You can't show up naked. You must sleep somewhere. You must eat. So, the right to shelter is connected to right to health. I mean, if you sleep outside or you have nowhere to stay, how about human dignity? That is a constitutional right. It's even connected to reproductive rights. You cannot reproduce in the streets. Come on.
But you see a lot of street families, they are reproducing properly.
It is so ideally. So it is so cross-cutting. Food, I mean, Aukot is talking about food. Where are you going to cook that food? You must cook it in a shelter somewhere. And if you look at the government can only come with policies that will lead to realization of that right. And so here is a case where the government is saying 98% of Kenyans need housing, like in Nairobi. And can we come with a scheme that can help people in terms of, from policy perspective, to acquire houses? And how can that be a bad thing? I don't know. But somehow it has come out to be very annoying and condescending, insensitive action by the government. But even beyond that, if you look at Article 203, importantly, Article 203 talk of how, of the Constitution, talk of how the revenue should be shared.
Yeah.
And it starts with national interest. The second priority is national debt and obligations before we come to anything else. So the arguments are not grounded so long as they don't acknowledge that this government is actually paying and filling the hole on the debt. I mean, and that is why I was saying it works like stereotype, because anytime you don't acknowledge that this government is saying we can't borrow locally because otherwise we'll stifle people, Akinyi and Onyango and whatever, from accessing this loan. We don't want to go to do the international borrowing. You saw they told IMF to their face, no, we are not going to borrow what you want. And they are going to pay because Aukot knows very well that the state obligations are passed from state to state. It didn't end with Uru. Now the debt are being paid. So is it fair or is it hypocritical to have this discussion without the context of the debt, the heavy debt burden? The Uru government kicked the can down the road. Now they are left. Now you get in and the debts are due, and you have seen the extreme amount of this debt. So that surely, what are we saying? Because we have no choice. We must pay the debt. The debts are huge. So yes, let us criticize the budget, and there is a lot of things that can be fixed in that budget. It's not perfect. It will never be perfect from my perspective. But start from acknowledging that how much is left after the government obligation on debt. And then with that, then you can now have a fair discussion of saying, you know what, I still think. But if you totally ignore the debt burden, and then we just come with shopping lists as if Kenya started in August last year, and it did not inherit the 10 years of misrule and misgovernance and the extreme borrowing. That this administration is saying, I must see the look and play. Yes.
Doc, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
First of all, I mean, as a constitutional lawyer myself, I'm not opposed to the idea of housing because I know it's a basic right now under the constitution. The only concern I have, Doc, is that we are not getting our priorities right for now. Because a country, a leadership that is, say, concerned about issues of housing, I would want to see some efforts in even just resettling, number one, the homeless who are on our streets. And they are in the streets, most of the cities in this country. The IDPs. And also the formula, in my view, and I think maybe, Doc, since you are closely associated with this regime, it's important
I'm not. That's why I don't like your questions. But go ahead and ask. I might even choose not to answer. Because you're being mean to me.
Doc, I'm not even finished. Why are you resisting?
Okay.
So
you are going ahead stereotyping me. So this is back to the bootstrapping argument. Dr. Aukot conveniently now has remembered there are IDPs, there is street families, there is refugees, and so he's not opposed so much to housing, but he's saying, why don't you start with IDP? I mean,
no,
it is
That precisely is my point, Doc, that we are not getting our priorities right. And for me, even this proposal, however altruistic it may look in the end, it should be informed by some very, very basic research. For example, how many people in this country who are working, who can earn a salary that is deductible by 3%, lack housing? That is a fundamental question, Doc, that is not informed by any either empirical data or whatever. And I think for me, we can't run away from that.
No, I acknowledge, Doc. Let me log out so that I listen from the other side. I was just giving an input because at the end of the day, just the same way IDP don't have a house is the same way Ojuang here, a law lecturer and the dean of law school don't have a house because he cannot afford. So then everyone is an IDP for the sake of this argument. Everyone who has no house, treat them as IDP and get them a house. Thank you. Thank you.
There is a number of areas which are making...
Daktari has disappeared.
Ameingia kwa nyasi.
There
are a number of areas which are good for this increase of tax. For instance, the bill proposes 100,000 Kenya shilling per ton of the fish imported from other countries. At the moment, we have a lot of fish in this country. Which we import from China. Why? When we have our Lake Victoria, when we have many sources of fish, so we need to be able to support some of our local markets. The other market also which this bill is proposing tax is on the juice, powder juice. There's a serious import of powder juice to the country. So there's increase of tax by 20%. That will really help, in growth of manufacturing industry of the juice local production. There is also a lot of cement which come from the rest of the world. When we have our own cement manufacturers around, we need to support them. We need to support them so that they can create employment, so that we can have many people getting jobs. That's why there's a proposal of 10%. Also, there is serious Chinese rotary and gaming equipment around. Chinese are coming here to make our young people more poorer in the name of playing rotary. So, and they make a lot of money out of that. So we charge them 20%. There is also serious import of furniture from China and other countries. Okay, killing our people around Gong Road. You see there are guys doing furniture very well. You go to Jogoo Road, there are guys doing manufacturing of assembling of furniture in a very good manner. Same case to Roysambu and many other places. You go to Tawara. You see, how do we support people who are in that business? That's why the bill is also proposing 30% tax of any important furniture. We are talking about paint. Paint is something that is easily manufactured, which we can grow that market for job creation as far as manufacturing of paint is concerned. So once you bought paint, there's another 15% of tax. There is another serious market which is not well regulated and which we need to capture properly. And today here, if you want to round the money, you go to cryptocurrency. Okay? You channel your money there. Nobody will be able to trace where that money is. And that's why the bill is also proposing some tax as far as cryptocurrency market is concerned. These are very important and key element of the Finance Bill 2023, which my brother here, Ekuru, doesn't want us to discuss. You want to rubbish everything because of 3% of the housing. And we are explaining the 3% in a very clear term.
You will see our memorandum. We are not rubbishing the bill in its entirety. We are only making a proposal that will make it more efficient and equitable. Because we think that most of your proposals in the bill are irrational, are not well reasoned. They are not based on any facts. I don't want to belabor on this issue of housing because, to be honest with you, Bitok, for me, it's not a priority for Kenya right now. What's a priority right now is, the cost of living. And one cost of that living is remotely connected to housing. And that's why I brought the two examples of just, why don't you just fix even the street families, the IDPs, and you have not done basic research to tell us how many of the people who can afford 3% deduction do not have a housing, and what scheme have you put in? And this story has been there for the last almost 10 years. Affordable housing. Mwesh, I'm being your friend, and I want to be a friend of this government because it's our government at the end of the day. I think just accept that we are telling you things that are not politicized. The problem with you people in KK, you're thinking more political than being practical. And there's nothing wrong with getting some wise counsel from people who are not emotionally attached to your administration. And being criticized positively, constructively, is what will make you succeed.
That defies the leadership. All right. Let's look at the comment section on YouTube. The Kenyan translator: the government is not allowing Kenyans to share their views on the housing project. Okay. I think also what is in the constitution is public participation. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Kabui Kathagwa, I'm listening to Ojwang and I'm so disappointed. Sometimes if it's loyalty, you can't run away from facts. He's moving in cycles and has spoken no point because he knows he's supporting out of loyalty because he joined the feast, and from his art, it's not making sense, and that's the problem of Kenya. Look at people like Jijo Pefu. I don't know what happened once people join the feasting table. Right. Brenda, Ongalo, in as much as the government has this urgent need to collect revenue to meet its obligations and promises, it is important that new levies it seeks to introduce are well thought out, both in terms of the timing and scope. The DST, for instance, was rushed, and as we still cannot ascertain what amounts to a digital service. Gerald Jameli, good morning, Gerald. I wish I could have time to watch this channel. I'm going to work. We'll watch later. Thank you so much, Une. Thank you so much, Rachel, and also even for coming in and making an attempt to have a conversation with us. We also appreciate it. All right, Ezekiel Bed, following from County 47, that's Oleria. What happened with piloted crude oil from Lodwar? Was it fuel or water? Okay.
Story
It's an avenue for milking Kenyans. Carbon Sara 3% isn't a priority. Now talk of food, fuel, NHIF and education. This is again in its side shows. Kiptoki Victor 3% is not a priority now. Pauline Cherop tuned in, Asante. We got you. Don't forget what's Mweshimiwa about immigration passport issue. You can raise it to the relevant people. This issue has really messed us up, and McHugh is not free. We pay. I understand there's a problem on the passport section. Maybe you'll help us understand. Kabui Kachawa, does Mwesh live in Kenya? Unaishi Kenya Mwesh?
Kabisa. Kenya kabisa.
From Mbeere.
Uko.
Amesema kama uelewe vile mambo yako kwa ground.
We need to, we have to make tough decisions as a nation.
Kabonsara unga na mahindi imepanda. I sell grains. I bought 90 kgs. I shoot from 6,100 to 6,800. UMP ajui mambo ya state of the nation. Oh yes, Ekuru has a lot. Yes, Ekuru, a lot of lies start with fuel. How much is it now per liter? Okay. Why Kenya ni shamba la wanyama? Why is mwananchi now getting safety? Yeah, look at Ann Amadi in Kemsa ETC. Mungu ashuke tuende mbinguni. Kenyans are being played. What Ekuru is saying is very true. It's only the same forest. The monkeys have not changed. And same Jage, my MP, man of the moment, Ruku doing a good job. Erickson Odiamba, good morning. Good morning to you, my brother. It's got a kindness tuned in. Collins, I say I to him. Good morning to you. I hope you doing well. Now, let's look at the fuel. Mheshimiwa, unajua wewe ndio unaweza tusaidia kuelewa hii mambo. Au sisi hapa chini tu tunasikianga wananchi serikali alafu we comply, hatuna option. Hata hiyo umesema 3% tutapiga kelele tutatoa tu. Hakuna njia nyingine. Tafadhali ile. Lakini swali ni, let's look at the fuel. So around 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we were told about a deal between Kenya and Saudi Arabia and the UAE states on fuel. G2G, government to government, that was supposed to give us a relief at the pump to have a cheaper prices. And I remember when His Excellency Deputy President was receiving the fuel in Mombasa, Kipevu, is it Bath? Is it called Bath?
Kipevu Bath, yes.
He had a press conference where he said that now, munaona imeli, sinichuma, iko na mafuta ndani. Na sasa, mutaanza kuona bei ya mafuta imeshuka chini. 3 days ago, we had serious rise at the pump. And I know, however much we try to pretend we all feel this, I know you feel, I feel. Akunanga kitu chungo kama kuona hiyo kitu ya your counting dashboard ya mafuta. Mega alfuta alafu unaona 7 liters. So now we have that increase. That has taken fuel, petrol to 182 point something, I think. And diesel, which was cheaper, is 170 something now. And we had a promise that we're going to get a cheaper fuel price. Now, with that increase again, the finance bill is coming. Once it's approved, it's going to levy another 8% on this fuel. Now it's going to 16%, right? Now, what is the reality in terms of fuel? What exactly is going on? And I've had other Kenyans saying, fanyeni hivi mweke kama 600, tupige nduru mara moja alafu tuzoe. What is the reality with the fuel cost?
Bitok, that's a very good question, because many Kenyans, we really don't understand why the prices of fuel are much higher. And one of the reasons is because of the dollar.
Okay.
That the amount of dollars which normally are required for oil marketers, Kenyan oil marketers, to be able to pay for, let's say, 1 vessel full of petroleum products is huge in a period of, let's say, 6 months, such that the Kenyan economy is not able to generate the amount of dollars required, because within 6 months is almost 600 million US dollars. So the Kenyan economy is not able to generate these dollars so that they can be able to pay. And the more the dollar becomes scarce, the higher the prices of the petroleum product, whether it is diesel or petrol or kerosene, goes up. So basically, the prices of fuel are determined by the availability of or by the supply of dollar within our economy.
Okay.
That's why we need to take care of so many aspects of our economy so that we can have enough foreign exchange within our economy. Now, because it's a crisis that we don't have dollar within the Kenyan economy, for the oil marketers to be able to pay for this product, for it to be shipped from, I don't know, Saudi or United Arab Emirates to Kenya, what solutions do we have? And that's how now the government came up with a solution, which we are calling G2G. And one of the negotiations, or the point of the negotiation, is that, please, allow us to have an escrow account whereby we are going to put in, the oil marketers are going to put in Kenyan shilling. And slowly, this Kenyan shilling in that escrow account will be able to buy dollars over time. And then we are able to pay your product after 6 months. Because for sure is that even if you tell us to pay your product, which we need now, within 1 month or 2 months, will not have been able to get enough dollars from the market, from the Kenyan market, to pay your product. And the more we are not able to pay, the more the price will continue going up because of the demand. Because the oil marketers are trying to get dollars from any source. And because whoever is in that market knows that there is high demand of dollar, because we need to pay our product, then he raises the price of dollar. Okay? And once you pay expensively, once you get this dollar in an expensive manner, then it means that that increase in the price will be reflected at the petrol station price, as a pump price. Okay. You understand? So basically, that is the story behind the high prices of the petroleum product. So President Ruto and his government decided, let's think in an innovative manner so that we buy time to get more dollars. And when there's no pressure of dollar within the economy, then the prices of the petroleum product will start coming down over time. At the moment, the 6 months have not elapsed from the time the government signed the G2G agreement. So we expect to see the prices of petroleum products coming down in a couple of months. Because at the moment, it's only 2 pesos of between 80 to 85,000 cubic meters of these petroleum products have come in the market. Okay. At the moment, the escrow account has not been has not even performed what is required because it will be paid after 6 months. 6 months have not lapsed. It's only now. I think we are in a second month, isn't it? So we expect to see the prices of petroleum product coming down in another 4 months from now.
Okay, Daktari, do you have any comments?
You know, that for me is a topic maybe that can be discussed by experts in petroleum and economists, and I'm sure Moish has articulated his view. My main concern, Bitok, is that the impact of all these administrative or policy decisions on the livelihoods of Kenyans. That for me really is where the focus, in my view, should be. If we are putting, for example, I mean, with this proposal in the finance bill, which I'm sure we will deconstruct maybe sometimes next week in details, you know, if you're raising, you're putting VAT on petroleum, and you see, this is an economic mover. It drives almost every economic activity. Production. And for me, you'll probably see one of the negative impacts of high cost of fuel will be that very few people will drive on the road. In fact, we see it every other day. Almost every month, towards the end of the month, that's when you see more cars. Because now people have received salaries, they can fuel their cars, and even then they can't drive for many, many days. For just very short. Kidogo wanapotea. So you can see that's a negative impact even on the transportation, on the consumption of petroleum, but also it drives the cost of living high, and that's why for me, whereas the KK administration keeps on saying that they are being blamed for the mistakes of the past administration, but it's also important to point out that some of the people now in opposition who are complaining loudly that the cost of living has gone up and maybe that's why they are targeting the KK administration were actually part and parcel of the mess we are in today. Because I remember, for example, 2019, and yesterday Mbeere confirmed to me that in 2019 they negotiated the current 8% into the VAT on petroleum. So I was asking him, but you are complicit. So why are you now blaming KK administration as if they are the only architects of the cost of living today? You are complicit. You never criticized for almost 4 years since you joined the government after the March 2018 handshake. So I think for me, Bitok, what I see generally on this issue is that I still go back to trying to persuade KK administration, rethink your priorities. I think your priorities are not alleviating the pain that Kenyans are going through at the moment. And I think if even parliamentarians like my brother Ruku here could just reduce the little bit of political defense and say, okay, let me look at the people of Mbeere North. What are they actually going through right now? And how do we even, for example, table motions in Bunge to demand, say, accountability? Because I also feel that with this debate now happening, and looking at the two sides, politically speaking, people aligned to the government of the day have forgotten the cardinal responsibility why they're in parliament, which is really to legislate And in legislation, you must find a common good for society, that the law must be of benefit to society, first and foremost. It should not be an avenue for acrimony. Like now, the way finance bill actually is a source of acrimony. And people are complaining all over. Sometimes I feel, and maybe Mwesh can comment on this, and maybe that's the question why somebody asked Mwesh, does he actually live in Kenya? Because if you truly live in Kenya, you will hear even on the streets, even as we leave this studio, we talk today, just now, and we speak to the person out there, the guys washing the cars, the cleaners, you will hear a common complaint that things are not good. I feel that members of parliament, leadership of the country, is not listening to the people. Listen to the people and then craft a law or propose a law that addresses their common problem. I also feel that the parliamentarians have have lost sight of their oversight role in government. Just because maybe you are aligned to this government, they have forgotten that one of their responsibility is to oversight government. And most importantly, the third one is to represent the constituency that sent them to parliament. And in that representation is now when you go back to the people and say, okay, what are the concerns? When people talk about the cost of living, let's have bipartisan talks. Those bipartisan talks will never fix Bitok, the cost of living. They will not reduce the price of unga.
It will only fix the politics.
It will only fix the politics. I wish I could see a member of parliament, and maybe this is a challenge we should throw to Mheshimiwa here, is that maybe he should come up with a motion, at least table a motion in Bunge. Let that motion be debated on the floor of the House. So, a motion about how do we address the cost of living. Not this behind the scenes discussion at Kempiski, I don't know where, Serena, and then now you are demanding for allowances. I don't know that is true, Mwesh, that I saw Zinutende Amolo, my fellow colleague in the legal profession, saying that they are demanding for more pay allowances to sit on these bipartisan talks. Come on. Bunge has so many committee rooms. You can even meet in schools. Why do you need to be paid? Again, I say generally, we are not getting our priorities right as a country. And the only person we can blame for that is the current administration.
Right, at its world. But the current fuel we have in the market was brought by the shilling. So the question of a dollar is not applicable. Yeah. Please. Right, okay. Looking in at also, the president has cracked the whip on some of the institutions that have been found to be corrupt. One of them leading last week or this week actually was KEMSA. KEMSA, the hammer fell there. We had our own administrations going on. The other day it was also KEBS because of sugar. Do you think we are finally getting a routing on fighting corruption, Mheshimiwa?
Let's correct that impression. No. Let's stop talking corruption.
Okay,
theft of public resources.
If you are finally dealing with theft of public resources.
What the president is doing is extremely in line with what he promised Kenyans. He promised Kenyans that he would not be talking about corruption, or he's not be talking to corruption, or whichever it is. He will be acting. He said, lead my lips. Watch my steps. There's no room of a lot of Urambaru, KEMSA, sugar, and any other thing which may, is seriously addressing the issues to do with theft, which was there which is there in KEMSA. And he did the right thing to dismiss anybody who is involved. And I'm sure it's sending a very strong signal within the public service that once you are caught not doing what you're expecting to do, the president does not have room for negotiations or going round and round about it. He acts immediately. And we support him in that direction. Yes.
For me, first of all, I think it's important when the government or the president does something good, we should acknowledge it. I think I like the step he took because it's ways of actually dealing with this menace, this theft of public resources. And I just wonder, this KEMSA, it's like a well full of billions that are being stolen every time. Haikuishi bwana. But I know it's also because it's donor funded, heavily donor funded. So the money is there, and they purchase drugs for every, for the entire country.
The counties.
But then what I would like to see Bitok, over and above what the president did, which is commendable, he must take action decisively. But I want to see these people being prosecuted. I want to see those people being arraigned in court, and I want to see them refund that money, because you see, KEMSA money, being a government department, it's not money that you can. It's not like this money is not like it's in a store that you go with a gunia, unaweka alafu unaiba. So this money must be transacted through the banks. So surely we must know there is a trail. So who actually have made the approvals? When it left this account of KEMSA, it went to whose account? Because I don't think, and if it was withdrawn, if it was withdrawn,
who would do?
We also now need to see that bank manager, the relationship manager. This is a conspiracy. It will really, really help the country. And the reason this KEMSA 2 happened is because KEMSA 1 was not punished. Remember the COVID billionaires? The COVID billionaires. That was not punished. They went unpunished. Now they are repeating again. So, Ruku, when you speak to your party leader, please tell him just to put a few dogs on the knee to bite these guys. Let's start from KEMSA. Who approved this money? The Kenda kwa bank. Who in the bank? So all these people, and who is the eventual beneficiary? But I'll also tell you one of my other suspicion why they may not go that route, because a lot of this money finds its way into politics.
Yes,
it is what funds political campaigns, because this corruption does not just happen like that. And I find it and I hope President William Ruto will not find himself in the same predicament Uhuru found himself in, where a president admits that we are losing 2 billion every day, and with all the machinery he has, intelligence, police, and he could not be able to pin who are these people who are stealing 2 billion every day. I think if William Ruto wants to succeed, he should not go that route. Let him be different from President Uhuru Kenyatta. And let's see people being punished. These are thieves. In fact, you should now, if there's only benchmarking trip I think I will approve, is of all public servants in Kenya going to China and to see the prisons there that's holding public servants. Because that's what China does. It takes the families of public servants, tell them,
like a zoo.
Like a zoo. So that's the only benchmarking I think
All right. 6 minutes to time. 6 minutes to time. Of course, for me, I think it's a step in the right direction. Coming from a backdrop of a situation where every time there's a corruption scandal, we hear only about notices. The COVID billionaires. They said 20 days.
The former president gave 21 days for COVID billionaires to have been, steps to have been taken. But of course, we know those who are involved were very close associates of the president. Nothing happened. People have been.
And who are those, by the way?
I don't want to mention them on air, but we know them.
I don't know them.
Very, very close associates. At the moment, people have been talking about that the president is favoring people from levy.
Yeah,
and you can see quite a number of them have been sacked in that punch. Also, what is going to happen? For those who have watched the president keenly, is a man who knew the problems of this country, the state capture, and that you can be able to manipulate your way through. I am sure this is not going to happen with his administration. The pharaohs who have just been indicted, let the law process take its due course. And we see whether our court or judiciary administration, justice, what do you call it? Call it the justice system of our nation, whether it will serve the Kenyans right. The president has done his job. Okay. Let's also the justice system
To do his work.
what they are required to do. Because even if the president takes very firm steps as far as sacking those people involved in such scam, the justice system must also be very, very firm. And he has nothing to do as far as the justice system is concerned. It's a completely independent arm of government.
No, that's not true, Ruku. He may not interfere with the justice system directly, but let's break it down a bit. Bitok. The president appoints the chief detective in this country, the DCI director, meaning that is really his confidant. He has confidence in that person to be able to help him. It's part of the enforcement of the rule of law and therefore actually enforcement of justice in the country. He also appoints the DPP, Director of Public Prosecution. He also appoints the Inspector General of Police. So what I think will convince Kenyans that William Ruto is different from Uhuru and other presidents is the extent to which he uses resources within himself. Because by the time he took a decision that I have to sack the KEBS people, because he recognizes a wrong has been committed against the people of Kenya. And that is not just a mere wrong, it's also criminal in nature. I see nothing stopping him from calling the security, because he chairs the security council. Yes. I see nothing wrong with him calling the Director General of NIS, DCI, Inspector General of Police, and DPP and tell them, listen, this is what has happened. You have lost billions. Get to the bottom of this as a directive. And that way, you will be different.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's 2 minutes to 9:30. If you're a farmer, I still want to remind you that the best place to ensure that you can get your feeds, your animal feeds, is from Fugo by Unga Farm Care East Africa Limited. We give you a guarantee of nutritional formulation that guarantees not only the health of your animals, but also the biggest profits in the market as well. If you're doing chicken, you can get your Fugo Fugo layers from Fugo East Africa, Fugo feeds. If you're also doing nguruwe, kisha unapata Fugo pig from Fugo. If you're also doing dairy, Fugo dairy, it will do you an amazing job. I mean, don't take chances with your farming. Farming is not only about keeping animals, but ensuring that you can feed them well and also ensure that it gives you the best profit. And I keep telling you this, that ensure that you can get all your products from all the certified distributors. And those of you doing nguruwe, wacha nguruwe anazunguka na kumangamanga. Please, you can get them the Fugo feeds. Kama unafanya samaki pia, umesikia mheshimiwa amesema wataanza kuimport, so una samaki inaimportiwa kutoka China. And we need local farmers to ensure that they have the best in the market, so ensure they can get your fish feeds from Fugo. That is Fugo tilapia. Ensure they can get the best profits from your farming. Unless we have any tackles of the day, Doctor, you have a tackle of the day?
Yeah, nothing much, but just to say that I think I want to encourage tacklers, please to read the Finance Bill 2023, because it has very huge implications and will impact you. In my view, very negatively, and then engage your member of parliament. Engage your member of parliament before they go on. I think we are receiving on the 4th of June.
On 6th of June.
6th of June. So I think let's also not just be idle people. Invoke the provisions of Article 10 of the Constitution on National Values and Principles of Governance, and in particular public participation. Parliament has requested for memoranda, public views on the bill. I think let's not be indolent as Kenyans. We can see that our parliamentarians are not necessarily looking after our interests, especially if they are associated with the government of the day. They will look the other way. So I think prompt them. Make sure that parliamentarians know your views on this very important law, because this law is very, very important. It has serious financial implications. It has impact on manufacturing, matters taxation, and all those aspects. So don't just sit there and expect that your parliamentarians will necessarily do the best, because we've seen over time they don't really look after the interests of their constituents.
All right.
Maybe Mheshimiwa Roko is different.
Your tackle of the day, Mheshimiwa Rukoji.
We are going to see the resurgence of manufacturing sector of this country with the passage of finance bill. that is manufacturing of paint, manufacturing of furniture will be huge. People make huge money. The construction industry in terms of cement, it will be even cheaper. The construction costs will come down because huge manufacturing of cement will be encouraged. The people in the Jewish industry will be able to do more local juice and create more employment. The fish industry will get a boost from this finance bill. And for people like us who are earning more than 500,000,
You'll pay taxes.
we pay more taxes, 5% on top.
Just say 100 million.
You said more than 500, so it will be 2 million, 3 million, 30 million.
So we pay more taxes, and it is good. Kenyans have been complaining that those who earn more, they get away with a lot of things. It's time for them now not to get away with quite a number of things. Issues to do with the tea sector, the VAT has been exempted. VAT exemption on manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, manufacturing of materials for fertilizer. The railway development levy has been reduced, which has been quite high. Which has been 2%. It has gone back to 1.5%. Import declaration fees on gas has been reduced. Removed completely, not even reduced, removed completely. Railway development levy on gas has been completely removed completely by this finance bill. Import declaration fees across board. It was 3.5%. That's gone down to 2.5%. So there are quite a number of gains as far as this financial bill is concerned. Tax removed completely on transportation of sugar from the farm to the factory. That's the people from the Western who are in the sugar industry or sugarcane farming. And also we will see the cost of internet going down because the excess duty on telephone and internet has been proposed to be reduced from 20% at the moment to 15%. So that we can, because youth are highly, in this sector of use of internet. And of course, we know that internet is one of the critical pathway at the moment within our Kenyan, within our economy. Excess duty has been reduced from 20 to 15%. So there's quite a number of take homes. Gain to the Kenyans. And more so, whatever has been increased, it has been increased for the benefit of taking the Kenyan economy, tax revenue to GDP from 14% to 16%, so that we can be closer to our counterparts within the region. And that will see translation of revenue from 2.2 trillion to 2.8 trillion. And that difference can be able to finance our higher education, that is universities and TFET, for a year. So we need to pay for some of these services.
Okay.
Bitok, there is one fundamental thing that Sheria.
You already gave an answer.
Yes, he's not addressing. No, it's just for me. I think my last point. You see, Mwesh, when you read keenly this Finance Bill 2023,
Yes.
it is still targeting the same dwindling tax base, and you know that for you to be able to raise taxes, you must expand the tax base. The tax base that you are targeting under the finance bill is the same, and it's even dwindling. Even it's been affected by unemployment of about 69 or 70% right now. There is no attempt to expand the tax base so that you can collect more money. I think it's a point you guys need to consider.
All right. Okay. Always a pleasure to have you, gentlemen. Thank you much for coming in. It's your first time on the tackle. Thank you. And Daktari for always making time as well. And tacklers as well, who always join us and make sure that we have a conversation. It's always a pleasure to have you. And we appreciate that you make time every single morning until Monday on the Common Sense edition. And wish you a very great weekend. Enjoy weekend. Na tuonane. Thank God it's Friday. And thank God we have Mheshimiwa here.
Kwanza iko sitting allowance ya bipartisan talk.
Supu ya red, supu ya samaki.
Na ugali na kuona.
Alafu tuheshimu Yesu pia. Kwa sababu ya miujiza yake.
Out of respect for Jesus Christ, we must take some fermented waters.
In honor of the Lord. And he's doing
it. Comes in the forms of berries.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Always a pleasure to have you. This is the tackle and it ends right now. Bye-bye and we love you.
Audio Jungle.